One of the best ways to prepare yourself, your family, and your pets for an expected emergency is to pack a go bag. A go bag is essentially a waterproof container of a kind of your choosing, whether it's a bucket or a dry bag, that contains all the equipment that you need to keep your animals safe if you lose your housing for the next, we advocate 3 to 7 days is the time span typically that it takes to rehouse someone and to get them access to those resources again. So if you think about all the things your animal uses and needs in that period of time of 3 to 7 days, you need to be able to kind of condense that and pack that safely into a bag that you can quickly grab and take with your family and your pet to safety, and make sure that allows you to either pass off that animal and the care of that animal to another agency, such as Juneau Animal Rescue if you're doing a safe keep with us, or it allows you to shelter in place at a new location and take care of that animal, even if you're cut off from typical resources such as Petco, such as safe drinking water, all the other amenities that we're used to on a day-to-day basis, plumbing, electricity, etc. So I have a sample go bag here that I've packed for sort of a generic cat and dog family, one cat, one dog family. And as you can see, you can easily fit enough items for one cat and one dog into a decent sized backpack here for 3 to 7 days of care. And I'm going to go ahead and unpack this and go through each of the items to talk through why we would want to include each of those in a go bag. So this is just a dry bag that's converted into a backpack, and it doesn't have to have puffins on it to work, but the important thing here is that it's a dry bag, so I can roll the top and seal it, and then if it's a flooding situation and there's a water rescue and this dunks in the water, it's not going to compromise everything inside. Everything inside is going to be safe because the top will be sealed. The first thing I'll point out is that if you have a small dog or a cat, it's really great to have one of these soft carriers. These are very portable. They can double as backpacks with these straps here. So you can literally have a family member carrying a dog or a small dog or a cat on their back during an emergency, and it makes everything so much safer and easier for the animal and for that person. And they also, for cats, this is wonderful, they also double up as a bed and a hidey hole for that cat. That cat's going to be scared probably during this whole situation until you get rehoused. And when cats are scared, they like to hide in, as we said before, deep, dark places. So this provides an option for them to hide. And you can cover it with a towel. So I like to bring a towel. So when that cat really wants to hide, you can let it tuck away in their little soft crate, and it becomes a cave for them, and they feel much safer and more secure. Having that with you in any sheltering situation is going to do wonders for that cat. It's easy to reach your hand in there and comfort the cat if you need to, give them some treats. For dogs that tend to be a little bit reactive, I have a Baskerville muzzle. It's fitted to your specific dog. These do require, for some dogs, some training, some practice for the dog to get used to it. But since you can give a dog treats through the muzzle, it's quite easy for food motivated dogs, especially, to train them to these. There's probably some great YouTube or online video references on how to train a dog to Baskerville muzzle, and we do have these available here. The next item I have in here is just some generic bedding that has the dog's scent on it, or the cat scent in that case. It's something they're used to use as bedding. And so you can lay this down in any dry place and they could hopefully make a bed out of it, and they'll associate it with their home, and it'll help ease their mind a little bit and help them with some of the fear and anxiety. Right, this item is really important, and it's in a Ziploc bag for some double extra protection from water damage. This would be all of the paper records for the pets that I'm evacuating with my family. So for both the cat and dog, I'd have up-to-date vaccination records in here, especially for rabies. Microchip numbers if they're microchipped, which we strongly advocate. Photos, And the photos ideally will be of the animal and family members, so that if people and animals are separated, or you're in a situation where you need to pass off the animal to someone else to take care of, in case there's any confusion, it would be easy to relocate and reunite the animal with the family. And then owner contact information. I have a bunch of portable food and water dishes. So these are great. These pop closed and are very compact. And you can, they usually have clips so you can hang them if you need to. And then when you're ready to use them for food or water, they pop open. Having a couple of these on hand is, I think, really valuable. If you don't have these, you can use just standard food and water dishes. The metal bowls are just fine. They take up a little more space, but these are nice and compact. This is why I like them. And then I have food for the animals. So this would be food for the cat. Ideally, these would be labeled with the cat's name and an amount given per meal or per day. I just use these old Talenti jars because for our dog, for instance, we know that with each meal we give them half a container. So one container is 1 day for our dog. Our cat just eats when she's hungry, so it's a little more variable. So here I have, since our dog does 1 Talenti jar per day, I have 3 days worth. We advocate keeping 3 to 7 days worth, depending upon the situation and how quickly you think you're going to be able to have access to resources and rehousing. I would say go with what your animal is familiar with and what your animal's comfortable with. Switching food quickly on an animal for many animals can cause GI upset issues, and really one of the last things you want to be dealing with in a sheltering situation is diarrhea. So go with what your animal's familiar with, keep it simple, and keep things as familiar as possible. It'll also help reduce some of that stress for that animal. And along those lines, one of the things I really like bringing are the animal's favorite treats. So the cat really likes these squeeze tubes. Well, this is actually the only way we can get our cat out of those like deep dark recesses of the house when she's hiding in the eaves, is using one of these. So that tells me that this is a really great way to comfort her when she's stressed. And our dogs really love these stick treats. So know what your animal likes and stick to that. So figuring out like their absolute drop dead favorite treats is really great in times like this, because that'll help take their mind off of the stressors around them. And when they're eating their favorite food, as we all know, it can go a long way to reducing stress and fear. And of course, if they're eating, they're going to be doing the other thing as well. And if you're in a shelter situation, you want to be able to keep the environment clean. So having a good handful of dog poo bags is really important for just sanitation of your sheltering environment, wherever that might be. And also just as a courtesy to your neighbors, because you might be in a situation where you're really densely packed with a lot of other people. And on the cat side, that means having a 3 to 7 day supply of kitty litter. So just like with the food, I put these in Talenti jars and get a sense for how much your cat goes through in a day. One of the nice things about cat litter is that if the cat is used to a particular litter, you could change the container on it and it'll still go because it's trained or acclimated to that litter type. So what I have thrown in here is a Go Bag litter box, which is literally just one of these cardboard boxes from, I think it held cat food cans, folded up. And I can unfold it and I could pour the litter in here. And I'd probably want to put something absorbent underneath it, like a wee-wee pad. So it might be good if you're using this to also bring an absorbent wee-wee pad, which I forgot to pack in here. But I would just put the litter in here, and the cat would hopefully recognize that as its new litter box and do its business. And then this all can go out dumped in the trash. So I like this. Is really, really compact and portable. It's quick and easy in a hurry, in a pinch. Most litter boxes are not, like standard litter boxes are not really very portable for emergencies. So this is a good alternative, I think. You can also use the lid of like an Action packer or a tote, that kind of style of thing, a plastic lid as well. So each of these bags should have the animal's name on it. So these are just generic examples, Fido, Fifi, and should have some instructions regarding how often they receive the medication, and how the medication is administered, and what times of day they receive it. And the bottles should be labeled too, so it's clear which medication goes to which animal and how frequently it's administered and when. I have a collection in here of extra leashes, just in case, an extra collar, just in case. I really, really like these martingale collars. A lot of people don't use these, but they're fantastic because if a dog is scared and pulls on this collar, it'll pull at this point and tighten, and it won't be able to back its head out of the collar. So it prevents the dog from slipping its collar over its head. So for dogs that tend to try to do that, tend to try to back out of their collar, or especially dogs that have a small head and a big neck, there's certain breeds that are prone to this. These are absolutely fantastic in scary situations. I absolutely love them. They're called martingale collars. I have a couple of dog toys. These are a couple of my dog's favorite toys. And you know, they might even just be a scrap of a toy, but if that dog loves that, if that's what helps it feel safe and familiar and with a new situation and want to play and kind of get out of its fear and anxiety stage, then that's what you should grab and have ready to go. And sometimes squeaky toys are all it takes for some dogs to kind of switch into a playful state from their fear and anxiety. And I also have a harness, a spare harness, and for a dog. These can be really helpful in an emergency because it makes it much easier to pick up a dog or grab a dog that's kind of trying to run off with one of these. It's a lot safer with one of these than with a collar. If you've like dropped the leash, for instance. And this is actually a harness for a cat. So if your cat is trained to a harness and a leash, that might be really helpful to have packed away in a go bag as well, so that the cat can have a little bit of freedom in a new setting. If you're in a shelter environment, then your cat's options for where it can roam may be very, very limited if you don't have it trained on a harness and a leash. So I know most cats are not probably trained on a harness or a leash, but in these kinds of situations, I think it could be really advantageous to give that cat a little bit of chance to safely explore with your supervision and with your eyes on safety, because it may not be able to get out of its pet carrier otherwise. And then last but definitely not least, in certain kinds of emergency situations, we may lose access to potable, safe drinking water. So having a supply of safe drinking water for your family and for your pets is really, really important. It's also going to be the heaviest item in your go bag. One thing to keep in mind with the go bag is that this is something you ideally have packed and ready to go at any point for any kind of disaster you might face, but some of the items in here do expire. So this is particularly important if you have wet cat or dog food. Dry dog food takes a lot longer to expire, or dry cat food takes a lot longer to expire. Throwing some desiccant bags in is not a bad idea, but just make sure that animals don't eat them, obviously. This, for instance, this expires, last month. It is important to check those expiration dates and cycle things out that do expire. Most of the things in here you wouldn't have to worry as much about. One thing that I would advocate is, since we don't all really have the luxury of just keeping spare prescription medication in a go bag, just in case, is instead of keeping prescription medication separately in your go bag ready to grab, putting a sign on your go bag that says grab the prescription medication, so that when you're grabbing your go bag, you remember also to quickly grab the prescription medication and stuff it in there, and then you can sort out the details of labeling it later once everything's settled, because it really isn't necessarily advantageous to just keep a separate set of pills that you may never use in your go bag. But having that reminder on the go bag will be tremendous if you have a chance to grab those. It'll save you a lot of hassle in the coming days. The way I see a go bag is it's something that everyone should have packed for both their human family and their pet family. If you feel that you're at any risk of having to evacuate for any kind of disaster scenario, and we're all at risk. Let's face it, any of us can face a fire at any point, for instance. So having something you can grab really quickly and that helps assist in a safe and effective evacuation for your family, I think is tremendously valuable.